Welcome into DC On Screen episode 399. This is the weekly DCEU news, and don't worry, we're not going to get very spoilery on Wonder Woman. I cut out a bunch of news that I found to be too spoilery, so we're just going to be talking, about what the producers are saying in vague terms, and I cut a bunch of that crap too, because we've heard a lot of that before.
Hey, we've got a recap and review, I guess, coming for Wonder Woman this week anyway.
Yeah. And also, they released, this Redditor released a whole bunch of rumors for the DCEU.
Mm-hmm.
Not covering that either.
Yeah, I saw that, and I thought it's worth leaving out.
Yeah, just ignoring that too. By the way, I'm your host, David C. Robertson. This is my co-host, Jason Goss.
Hello. Your favorite ignorers.
What? Because we're ignoring things. Gotcha.
We're here to cut out what you might not want to hear.
No, really, we're here to cut out the things that are now boring me.
Yeah.
And,
also, we do try to have the tiniest amount of integrity. So if it's not qualified news and it's real spoilery, it gets thrown on the shit pile for us.
Mm-hmm. And, for people who actually like to go back or who get into a thing and want to go back and listen to every episode, which is going to be kind of hard now because 399 episodes, come on.
Woo.
But if you do, hopefully we won't bore you too much with the same information over and over again.
Right.
However, we have just started doing a thing where you can call in and leave a voicemail, and we will play that voicemail on the show. We don't have any this episode. We have some on the next episode, though, on our DC TV news. But if you would like to call in and leave us a voicemail, 205-259-6331. Having a lot of fun with that. We've gotten way more than I thought we would.
That has been a lot of fun so far.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to Wonder Woman.
Oh, man, I'm counting the hours, dude.
I mean, it is.
It looks fantastic.
It is the 29th. We are, some 70 hours away?
Yeah. This time, for us, about this time in 3 days, we'll be walking out of it. About right now, 3 days, we'll actually be on the way back to my house to record our review.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be good.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be good stuff.
It's going to be great, man. Looking forward to it. I mean, I always like recording our little, first take reviews, but I'm really looking forward to this movie. Just on top of everything else.
Yeah. All right, you want to jump into news?
Knock it out.
All right, so Gadot was talking to Cinema Blend about Wonder Woman's arc from the movie Wonder Woman to Justice League. She says, when I just started, the first time I played Wonder Woman was on Batman v Superman, and it was current day, so I got to play the end result of who Wonder Woman was. And I was very curious to understand and really go through who she is and how she became Wonder Woman. And finally on Wonder Woman, we had the chance to go and dig deep and really establish this beautiful character. She also said she was trying to make Wonder Woman more relatable. And she said it was going to be really important when Justice League came around. She says, it was really important for Patty and me that this character will be relatable, and I think the fact that she's the most powerful warrior, but she can also be vulnerable, she can be confident but confused, blunt but curious. There's so many different qualities to her that make her not perfect and easier for us to relate. She's still Diana, but nowadays she's wiser and more educated about the complexities of life in the world and mankind. But she's always full of compassion and warmth and love for everyone.
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
Yeah, sounds like a great take on the character. We'll,
mm-hmm.
Obviously, we're all waiting to make sure the execution's there, but I've really dug a lot of the press on where their heads are at, her and Patty Jenkins.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, and Patty was just talking to comicbook.com in a similar vein, beating the old relatability drum.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that it was very important. That's how I had always wanted to do it, and I had pitched that talked about that many times, and then we ended up in a wonderful moment where that was everybody's ambition and everybody embraced a way of doing it, which was wonderful. I would say these kind of movies are important, and they're important, if for nothing else, to inspire us all to imagine that we could be better people and possibly strive to do that in our own lives, to be our own heroes. So I hope that she makes one feel like a hero for a moment. And I hope that every time something like that happens, it makes someone able to make a more heroic choice in a moment that they can.
Oh, that's a nice sentiment.
Mm-hmm. She was over on... What's that?
No, it's one of the reasons I love comic books in general, is that sentiment.
Mm-hmm. Me too. So she was talking to the CBS This Morning's Alex Wagner. And Wagner asked about the character being a, quote, feminist icon while wearing a, quote, skimpy, sexy outfit. He says, some people say you can't have both. What do you say about that? Patty says, I think that's sexist. I think it's sexist to think you can't have both. I have to ask myself what I would apply to any other superhero. This is fantasy, and it's not for anyone other than the person having the fantasy. I, as a little girl, took a huge amount of delight in the idea that for my power and my ability to stop that bully on the playground, I can also look like Lynda Carter while doing it.
Yeah. I mean, literally a lot of us remember someone named Macho Man Randy Savage running around in basically underwear.
I seem to recall him snapping into a Slim Jim as well.
Yeah. I mean, it is though. It's a formalized context that just doesn't need to be there anymore.
When I was growing up, I got a lot of flack for reading comics because the women all were scantily clad, and of course now you hear a lot of people say that was sexist in the first place. But I'll be damned. I read a lot of Wolverine comics, and that dude barely ever had clothes on.
Yeah.
I mean,
it definitely can, it can be done wrong, but in the right context, it can, you actually can have the best of both worlds there. You can present a perfectly powerful character that doesn't necessarily have to have any clothes on. You just have to take the character seriously.
Yeah. So, segueing from looking like Lynda Carter to Lynda Carter's thoughts on Wonder Woman, she says, what a wonderful movie. Gal Gadot is fabulous as Wonder Woman. I had so much fun at the premiere. So that's good.
That is good.
I didn't, I was grateful that at least, Lynda Carter was not going to be one of those actors who were like, well, I had a problem with the way that the character was portrayed because of the way I portrayed them.
Yeah. They're doing an entirely different thing with Gal Gadot than they did with Lynda Carter too. It would have been weird for her to have a problem. Just outright.
Yeah, by the way, I was on Twitter earlier, and Scott from the Suicide Squad cast cracked me up. Apparently his wife asked him if he knew of anywhere that she could buy the complete Lynda Carter series on DVD. And he says he went down into his man cave and came back up producing it, and was like, silly wife. Nice. I'm like, of course, Scott.
How would you think I didn't have this?
Yeah, I have it. It's on my shelf. I'm looking at it right now. It's right next to the 66 Batman and the 50s George Reeves Superman.
That's fitting.
Right? Oh, and Shazam. Of course, Shazam.
Yeah, why the hell not?
Oh. So, Liam Sharp, the current artist for Wonder Woman, has also seen the movie. He says there's so much to love about this movie. Gal is particularly good at the guileless fish-out-of-water humor, and she's just extremely charming. It has, much like Indiana Jones, that Saturday morning matinee feel, adventure for all the family. And in the end, it's all about hope and love, and we could all do with a bit of that. Looking forward to seeing it again.
Yeah, nice feedback.
Now, there have been reports that there's going to be a new DC intro debuting on Wonder Woman. Humberto Gonzalez has confirmed on Twitter that that's true. Someone asked, is it true? And he says, confirmed. It's, and then fire emojis, 5 fire emojis, which I think is obviously now the universal symbol for flammable.
Yeah. So bring a fire extinguisher to the premiere and you actually go see it.
Hazmat suit. Yeah.
Whatever you need. It's safety first, people.
They didn't say it wasn't a chemical fire.
Yeah. I think the fire will just pour off screen.
So, Patty Jenkins was talking to Collider, and this is actually exciting news for me. She says there will be no deleted scenes or extended cuts of the movie.
I like it.
She says, it's not like a long journey didn't happen, but what amazes me is how little has actually changed from the first cut other than tightening. Little changes to the final battle. That was really it. I think that when I ended up finding about the final battle I was hitting emotional points for Diana that I really wanted to hit, but I felt a craving for some other kinds of emotional gratification and engagement that we tried to accentuate even more. I think what you learn is rhythm, tone, humor, where the jokes are happening, but in our case, I just now can finally say all this. We didn't cut one scene in this movie, nor did we change the order of one scene in this movie from the script that we went in shooting with.
That's impressive.
That's pretty impressive.
I mean, if those could be damning words, I guess, if it doesn't get well received. But so far, a lot of the gossip is good, and that's pretty impressive as far as things go. That's pretty tightly written.
Yeah. Now, Patty was also talking to Fandango recently, and they were talking about a sequel, possible sequels that hasn't been officially announced yet. And
give that a month.
She did. She says it's definitely something I'm very, very, very interested in. I love what we've created, and I love the team that I worked with doing it, and these actors so much that, yeah, we're all very excited to talk about continuing forward together. And she did say that, she's interested in digging into the time frame between World War I and Batman v Superman. She says it's something that one will know soon. Like, what has she been doing all these years? But it's definitely something I have thought about a lot. So, honestly, I want to see 77. I want to see Gal Gadot doing this 77 Wonder Woman thing, like Lynda Carter.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be down.
Not necessarily as... Yeah, I'll check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Patty Jenkins was talking to Kevin McCarthy on Fox, and she was explaining why it was integral that Wonder Woman be shot on actual film.
Yeah.
She says, I've come up on shooting film and working on film for a long time. Digital has come a long way. Digital does a lot of great things. There are things I really like about digital, and they are not the same, and there is some sort of strange myth that, you can do everything on digital now. Well, if that was true, why do all the great, great, great filmmakers still shoot on film? Is it because they know less? Is it because they're more haphazard? Is it because they can't move on to new information? No, it's because there's a certain type of epic grandeur escapism that film gives you that you will struggle very hard to get that on video. Honestly, I disagree with her. I've heard a lot of, as she puts it, great, 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 great filmmakers talk about how these days they've been shown side-by-side comparisons and they can't tell.
No, people, it's one of those like elitist kind of thing. People cannot tell. Come on. Your average person just wants a good story. They're not worried about. And they physically, visually cannot tell the difference.
And the thing is like, yes, okay, you're shooting it on film, but you have to put it into a computer. You have to digitize it.
Yeah.
To do any of these effects and everything.
Yeah.
So you're just wasting money.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned. That's my opinion. I'm sure someone out there is,
I mean, there are possible exceptions. Like, if I understand correctly, the Magnificent Eight. Is that what they call the Tarantino movie?
The Magnificent Seven.
I think he actually cut that analog. I think he actually cut the film for that. So,
but he's not one of those that I would consider a great filmmaker. I enjoyed like exactly 2 movies of his. I
agree. I mean, but at least like if he's gonna do it, he stuck to it, and he didn't digitize this thing he spent so much time filming on.
Yeah,
I can at least respect that.
Sure, absolutely.
But it really is the equivalent of like. I used to laugh every time something got released on CD that was supposed to be like, it was recorded so vintage. I'm like, yeah, it's CD though. You still sample it to 0 and 1. End of the day, it's zeros and ones, man. There's a sampling rate on it. It's high. It's high enough that you probably can't tell, but it's there.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell. To me, MP3 sounds the same as anything. As Charles McFall would call a filthy casual. So.
I mean, it depends on what I'm listening to, and then, oh god, don't even get me started on like, well, what speakers were you listening to that with?
Yeah, I feel like someone somewhere is listening to this show and deciding to turn it off after they've pushed their, vanity glasses up on their nose and went, well, he clearly doesn't know what he's talking about in film. I'm sorry, I don't care. Digital is kind of to a point now.
Hang with us, guys. It's all saturated such that we can all just, and honestly we should just kind of accept the fact that like you can spend more on actors, services, post. You can make it a better industry if we all just kind of admit that like we can cut that corner.
Yeah.
I mean even the back half of the credits that no one normally gets any credit for, really. Better paycheck for them, even. Come on.
Anyway, moving on. Matthew Jensen, the cinematographer for Wonder Woman, told IGN, every day seemed like a challenge because it was such a big and complicated movie. You okay?
Oh, yeah. Swallowed wrong. I'll have some La Croix. Make it right.
So Matthew Jensen, Wonder Woman cinematographer, told IGN, every day seemed like a challenge because it was such a big and complicated movie. Just the knowledge that we were doing Wonder Woman's story, solo, a movie about a lot of people, had been trying to get off the ground for over 20 years, and she is one of the pop culture icons. So there was a lot of pressure on us to do it correctly. We were setting out to make something close to Richard Donner's Superman, or Batman Begins. We wanted to do her story that kind of justice, so every day felt like we had that monkey on our back. You're going to compare Superman with Batman Begins? And that's what you were going for? Because those were two, aside from just being a random, just basic origin story, those two movies are tonally
vastly different.
Very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe the first, half of Superman wasn't that different. But once you get into, Otis and weird, Huckster Lex and Miss Tessmacher and all of the music that was like womp 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 womp.
Yeah.
Actually, that was the music from Joker's Favor from the animated Batman series. But whatever. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Lots of tubas. To indicate humor.
Right.
This is where you laugh. That's what movies did back then. Like when there was supposed to be something funny, instead of a laugh track, they would be like womp 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 womp.
That's a good point, actually.
It's ridiculous.
I think I remember a few cues like that.
So according to Fandango, Wonder Woman is now the most anticipated summer film. They did a poll, and 10,000 film fans voted online from April 27th to May 19th, which is actually the largest response they've gotten on their moviegoer surveys in 17 years. And they were asked to pick one movie they were looking forward to seeing between Memorial Day and Labor Day. They chose Wonder Woman over Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. They chose it over Stephen King's The Dark Tower. Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk. They chose it over Spider-Man Homecoming.
Ooh, that is surprising.
So, you know what? Spider-Man Homecoming, it's fun that Spider-Man's in the Marvel Universe, but we've seen so many Spider-Man movies lately. Who the hell cares?
Yeah.
I'll go see it. I'll be there with bells. Well, not bells, but
something related. I'll be there with bells on.
What does that mean? Anyway?
I don't know, but I'm I'm going to translate to, in today's terms, I'm going to be the fuck there.
Fair enough. So over on Friday, Gal Gadot. Oh, why can't I talk? On Friday, Gal Gadot was on live with Kelly and Ryan, and apparently she threw her back out, right before the Thursday night premiere of Wonder Woman.
Ooh, that's rough.
And she joked, "I tried to save the world once again, and it's heavy duty." So, I don't know. I felt bad for her.
Yeah.
But I didn't. Did you see this video? The Gal Gadot trains with Conan O'Brien?
Yes. It was delightful.
Conan went to a warehouse on the Warner Brothers lot, and they trained, and, of course, he was just being foppish, can't speak, foppish and foolish, and being silly.
Proper Conan.
And then he came out with his superhero late night talk show host uniform.
I particularly like the C on his belt buckle.
Mm-hmm. It was a lot of fun.
It really is.
So, new Wonder Woman tracks have been released. Water Tower Music put out 2 full tracks. One of them was To Be Human by Sia, featuring Labyrinth, which plays during the closing credits, and I'm pretty happy that it's closing credits that it's going to be in, because there's no post-credit sequence, so I can just leave, and I don't have to listen to Sia.
I don't have any particular problem with Sia. Just not outright. But I really want to thank Warner Brothers for letting me leave and go pee.
Yeah, you know what? That actually became, because we mentioned this last week, how we were happy that there was no closing, there was no stinger at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to go pee. That became a whole conversation for me on Twitter.
I'm going to guess a lot of support, actually.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, stingers are cool, but come on, man. We're humans.
Yeah. No, I don't care for Sia. I don't like her voice or something. I don't know what it is exactly. I just don't like her stuff. I know some of my issues with her, but whatever. I'm happy to not have to listen to that. I don't like this song. I listened to it before the show. And, But "Angel on the Wing" by Rupert Gregson Williams is the other song they put out. It's the Wonder Woman composer, and it gives us a bit of a taste for the score. So that was pretty cool.
Sounds right. Moving
on to Justice League, though.
Oh.
Across company lines. Now, we talked about this last week. The awful, awful news that Autumn Snyder took her own life.
Yeah.
And Zack is stepping away from Justice League, and Joss Whedon is coming in to finish up some additional photography and carry the film through post.
Sure.
And, but across company lines, once again, quelling the bullshit DC versus Marvel crap. Parties from both DC and Marvel camps have expressed sympathy and well wishes for Zack and Deborah Snyder and their family. People like Henry Cavill, James Wan, the Aquaman director, Wonder Woman's Patty Jenkins, James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy, and Volume 2, Kevin Smith, we all know who that cat is, Brien, Michael Bendis, Jeff Johns, Jim Lee, John Berg, tons of others. They've taken to Instagram and Twitter. And Zack came out and said, "Thanks for the outpouring of support. I can't express how much it means to Debbie and I and Autumn's mother Denise at such a difficult time." So I didn't want to get into all, because they're all, roughly the same, to be honest. I mean, what are you supposed to say?
There's only so many things to say. And nothing's going to be too life-changing at this point. It's just going to be a process for him.
Yeah. But moving on, there's been a lot of conversation about what's actually happened when Joss Whedon came on board. And, there was some, like Joss mentioned like a month ago, that he was at Warner Brothers talking about something else when they started talking about Batgirl, and apparently it was Justice League is what that something else was. Because at the premiere in Los Angeles for Wonder Woman, producer Charles Roven told Variety, "We're excited about the film, of course, but we were saddened by the events that caused Zack Snyder and Deborah Snyder to have to leave and turn the reins over to Joss Whedon. He was already working with us on some of the scenes for that additional photography that we're going to be doing shortly. It was fortunate that Zack convinced him and he agreed to step in and finish the movie to help Zack finish his vision. We're excited about that." So apparently, Joss was like, Zack had already brought him in
to do some punch-up work.
Well before. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, now this was...
I had the feeling though this wasn't going to be... This was going to be a transitional kind of thing. That there was going to be some overlap. You don't just lose Zack Snyder, pick up the phone and call Joss Whedon. It just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
Zack and Deborah.
Now, looking at the timeline though, and this is one of those rare occasions where, normally I don't listen to any other podcast until probably 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks after they've put out an episode. But I did. I decided to go ahead and listen to the Suicide Squad cast this week, and they actually placed Joss Whedon's. They tried to figure out a timeline, and they're saying they think Joss Whedon started working on this thing about February, which would be before Autumn committed suicide. So that means well before that Joss Whedon was working on this movie.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then Snyder really did just bring him in.
Yeah.
To punch up, and then when he realized he wasn't going to be able to do this, he needed to put his family first at the moment, then Whedon was there to pick it up.
And, I don't fault Zack Snyder for bringing in Joss Whedon.
No, that's a good pull.
I think Joss Whedon, to me, that sounds like a good decision-making on the part of a good director.
Yeah, that's...
to bring in Joss Whedon to rewrite to just write some... interstitial scenes to go into something that you need.
It's a great consult.
This is old hat for Whedon.
Yeah.
This is the guy that punched up Toy Story. And Twister. He was an old style script doctor, back in the day.
Yeah. Him and Patton Oswalt could could teach.
I was going to bring up Patton Oswalt. I was going to bring up Patton Oswalt.
Well, him and Thomas Lennon, actually, surprisingly. And whoever his lighting... Hold on, actually, I can tell you. His writing partner, Robert Ben Garrett, who I don't know as well, and I probably should.
But, Joss Whedon is a fantastic writer. He's a fantastic director. I think he's going to pull it, do what he's going to do very well, whatever that happens to be. Now, some of that DCEU rumor stuff from Reddit said that it was basically just, like, stuff with Ray Fisher as a human and some, like, Ben Affleck stuff over the summer.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true, but, whatever he's going to do, it's going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, we'll literally see. It'll be all right.
Yeah. Now, Warner Brothers had a booth over at the 2017 Licensing Expo in Las Vegas, and they had a lot of cool pictures of some close-ups of Batman's new costume, the Flash's costume for Justice League, Cyborg, Wonder Woman, and the best one to me, the Aquaman outfit. Did you see any of this stuff? I sent it to you.
Yeah, I scrolled through. Very detailed Aquaman outfit.
Yeah, it's pretty detailed. Like, gosh, I was impressed with it.
Look good. Actually looked like you could put that thing on and roll with it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm just excited. Like, I don't know.
I'm not going to say you're not going to chafe a little bit, but, going to make some sacrifices.
That would be awful. It'd be awful to actually try to wear it.
Gotta make some sacrifices.
Over to Aquaman, though. By the way, I meant to mention this as well. Over at the Expo, they had a big Justice League banner, and while the costumes on display excluded Superman, the banner did not. Superman was on the banner for Justice League.
Oh, cool.
But over to Aquaman, Charles Roven told Cinema Blend Aquaman is going to be set after Justice League. He says Aquaman will make reference to Justice League. There will be some reference of something that preceded Aquaman that will be in Aquaman. I believe that is the intention. Then he gets kind of weird on us. He says James definitely knows where he's going with Aquaman, and that movie takes place in a world where Justice League happened, and Man of Steel happened, and Wonder Woman obviously takes place before Man of Steel, except for the bookends we have. So that's where we have the most ability to freeform. We could do a movie that takes place after Justice League. We could do a movie that takes place after BVS. Well, not really. You can't do a movie in between Batman v Superman and Justice League. Dude, I think you already did. It was called Suicide Squad.
Seriously? Yeah.
But we can do movies that take place after Justice League, and we can do movies that precede Justice League. I think Charles Roven has had a little too much crack. Or something.
That just sounds like a pretty caffeinated conversation. Like, he maybe should have had one less latte before he did that interview. Because that is a lot of sentences for very little information to actually come out of it.
It's like a paragraph where he just rattles off a bunch of stuff and forgets that they made a whole movie that he was the producer of. So,
poor guy.
Whenever I think of Charles Roven, I think of Joe Biden.
Oh, Biden? Yeah.
Like maybe like Snyder and Warner Brothers just like, shh, go. No, sit down, Charles.
And you're thinking specifically of the like leaving the White House memes.
No, I was thinking about there was some kind of a meme or something.
God, those were some of the funniest things that were on the internet for a while there.
Those were funny, but there was some kind of a thing. I think it was like the oh gosh, I can't remember. It was some kind of event, but there was a whole storyline that someone pieced together with Photoshop where they had given Joe Biden the wrong directions, and he was like hitchhiking trying to figure out where it was because they wanted him to not be there. I don't know. He was the Dan Quayle of this generation. Let's just...
I can say one thing objectively, irrefutably about Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Great teeth.
He has good teeth.
Man has great teeth. That just...
I don't know about his work as a politician, but I would be down for seeing him do a role as... he actually shows up in Parks and Rec, and he's pretty phenomenal.
Oh, that would be funny.
But I think he could really do Golden Age Joker.
Yeah, or that cat from Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, the Cheshire Cat. Yeah. Anyway. we know that Black Manta is going to be played by Yahya Abdul Mateen II. And we know that in the comics, the reason Black Manta hates Aquaman is because of the death of his father. And it looks like his father in the movie will be played by actor Michael Beach. Beach. I almost said Bench for some reason.
Why not?
Michael Beach, who was seen in a photo Mateen shared on Instagram from the set. He's also known for several roles, including Monty Parker on Third Watch, Barnes in The Abyss, and Detective Sindel in Insidious Chapter 2. And if you don't believe me, you can go to IMDb, where I found all of that information because I've never heard of the cat.
Yeah, none of those sound familiar to me.
Me either. I mean, I know about The Abyss and Third Watch. I've heard about the Insidious Chapter 2. I've heard of these things, but I didn't see them.
No, none of that's on my radar. Sorry, guy.
He was asked recently if he was playing the role of Black Manta's father, and he said yes or no. Correct. I don't know what that means, but apparently he may be auditioning in real life for the role of the Riddler. I wasn't being serious. You sounded like you were serious when you sounded like you took me seriously.
I was as deeply confused by that or as I was the response. Yes or no? Correct.
Yeah. I'm not a good joke teller.
Like I was waiting for the other foot as far as like, okay, well, if we can get away with yes or no, correct as a response, then yeah, sure. Why the hell not? Yeah, I guess he's gonna do that too. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go walk on the ceiling for a little while.
So unfortunate news. I was really excited about this news. It looks like we've lost Doug Liman as the director of Justice League Dark. He hasn't died or anything. He's just there was a scheduling.
Just gonna go away.
There was a scheduling conflict. Apparently, that's what Variety says, and I trust everything Variety says.
They actually are pretty good at the job. I mean,
I don't know, but I'm sorry to see Doug Liman go. I liked his work on Edge of Tomorrow, or as the DVD calls it, Live, Die, Repeat, or whatever.
I forgot they tried to redo that.
Yeah, they tried to rebrand that whole movie, buddy. The graphic novel that it was based on was called what was it called? All You Need Is Kill.
Oh.
But it was a good movie. It was a pretty good movie. And that's coming from someone who cannot stand Tom Cruise.
Yeah. He's gotten to be such a personality now that I can't suspend disbelief long enough to watch him.
But it was a good movie. It actually played into...
It transcended Tom Cruise.
It transcended Tom Cruise by utilizing Tom Cruise's reputation, if that makes sense.
It does not, but I'll trust you.
Well, okay. The whole reason that he gets...
I see the concept of what you're saying. I just don't...
Well, he's like a military guy during this big war with these quantum aliens.
Yeah.
who are constantly rewriting time. It's sort of like a time war on Earth. And these, he's just a dick. He's just a shiny, smiley dick. And he pisses the wrong people off, and they decide to throw him to the front lines. So that he winds up becoming this big hero who's unknown, of course, and has to keep dying. And every time he dies, because he was too close to a thing, he reverts and learns more. He remembers everything, so he learns to be this great, perfect soldier. It's a whole thing, but
the first part of it didn't stretch your imagination too much.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
It didn't.
Yeah.
Who's the guy that died recently?
So many.
I can never remember his name.
Roger Moore?
Bill Paxton. Bill Paxton was in this movie, and he was phenomenal. Just absolutely phenomenal. Hilarious. The Edge of Tomorrow is worth seeing just for Bill Paxton, honestly.
That's fair. I might get bored over the summer and pull that one out.
Anyway, so they're talking about... There are rumors surrounding who might be on the short list for this thing. Stephen King's It remake director, Andy Muschietti, is looking like he might be a front runner. Damien Zifron, who is an Argentinian filmmaker. They're talking about him, maybe. His name has been floating around on the internets. And he did this movie called Wild Tales, which was Oscar nominated for Best Foreign Film. few years ago. And he's been tapped to script the $6 billion Man script. So, who knows? Who knows? Looks like Justice League Dark is going to be hanging back for a minute.
Yeah.
Which I'm fairly certain it won't be called Dark Universe because of the Universal Dark Universe thing. The Mummy and all that BS.
That's a coin toss. I mean, I see your point. I'd still put it on heads or tails status.
I don't know, man. So we're on Ben Affleck for the Red Nose Day.
He did
a Christian Bale Batman voice. It was all very staged. Like the kids, it was even clear that the kid wasn't there with Affleck.
Yeah.
It was just like the kid's like, I want to see Ben Affleck do Batman voice, and he does the Batman voice. Like, no, I want to see you do the Christian Bale Batman voice, and he does that, and he's like, maybe I just want Christian Bale.
Yeah, it actually was pretty good chuckle.
Purple Lamborghini just went platinum. Old Skrillex and Rick Ross. That single that came out back in 2016.
I gotta admit that's kind of surprising, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, it won a Grammy Award nom. Whatever.
Go for it. Just
went platinum. Yeah. All right, on to fan feedback. We're going to do that now. This show's quickly becoming... our show's quickly starting to sound just like Rick and Morty. It's like, all right, yeah, now we're doing the thing. And the fan feedback, that's the feedback where the fans give us feedback. Yeah. And
we're gonna slowly morph into where I'll just be in charge of burping periodically, and you just ask me a question every now and then demean me and move on to the next topic, and I'll just it'll be like the perfect soundtrack. I think we can do this.
All right. So we got some fan feedback here. First up, DC TV Squadcast said they shared our episode from last week, our DCEU episode last week. It said this is the DC on Screen episode I mentioned that had a great discussion on the Snyder news, which means that they also mentioned us on their show. So much thanks to that. And
always appreciate it.
They have a great show as well. So go and check out the DC TV Squadcast.
Yeah.
Rick's Story, Old Man Rick 68 on Twitter says, the movie news episode made me laugh out loud. Thanks for the shout out. Voicemail number 3, WTF. That was the voicemail where the guy was, I assume a guy was saying that they soiled themselves and that they were just an old widow woman. And we don't know.
It was somewhere between gibberish and pollywog.
Yeah. Rick says, at least he's all right. That's good to know.
Whoever that was seems to have not called us instead of 911. So that's end of the day. I guess that's a good thing.
Right. Brooklyn Batman at Abanda Part 94 on Twitter says, I'm glad I'm not the only one who's worried about missing a scene from Wonder Woman because I have to pee.
Yep.
I'm not drinking anything before it.
No, I seriously, I train for the Marvel movies. A lot of my day when I know I'm going to see a Marvel movie involves intake of liquids.
Oh, yeah. Brent Clark, one of the hosts of DC TV Squadcast at Brentech Prime, says, at DC On Screen, I got a Nintendo Switch last Friday. Mario Kart continues to be a blast. Which is always, it's just nice.
I've never complained. Anytime I've sat down and played Mario Kart, my day is better. It's just, when does that ever hurt something, Yeah,
I know. Alright, and lastly, Yoda Hugh, kind of on a sad note to end on. I don't know why I put this one last, but whatever. Yoda Hugh at J Hewings over on Twitter says, I didn't want Snyder to direct Justice League, but not like this. Thoughts go out to the Snyder family in this terrible time. Well, I did want Zack Snyder to direct Justice League, and I feel like somehow I'm getting the best of both worlds, and I feel terrible that it has to be this because of this. Because I love Joss Whedon, and I love Zack Snyder a lot of the time. And, I think it'll still be a great movie, or at the very least a very good movie. And, but if obviously I would choose for this not to happen.
Obviously. I gotta give him credit though. That's, I guess that's the right attitude here. There were going to be a lot of cheap, inhumane jokes at Snyder's expense right now, and
Oh, and there have been. Like, I've been actively blocking people from my Twitter feed because of just some of the terrible, just disgusting things people are saying.
Yeah.
And I make pretty inappropriate jokes, but even I was going like, oh, God, dude, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that I got to appreciate the attitude, though, of like, yeah, I mean, if you didn't want Snyder to pinch hit, or if you wanted someone else at least to pinch hit for Snyder, then, yeah, this is the least agreeable method of having that happen, but...
And I don't think it's going to be what all these people are like, oh, finally. I don't think it's going to be what they're wanting anyway.
No. I mean, he's just going to... It's pinch hitting. He's going to come in for a couple scenes, knock that out. And if Squadcast is right about it being... or Suicide Squadcast is right about it being, several months that he's been working on this, then we may get a little more hand in the pie than we're expecting right now. Mm-hmm. But... And that's good. I mean, it really is. Like, Whedon's terrific. And I do like the idea that this is more organic than reactionary. But,
yeah,
it's still, there's
Whedon
only
has a tasty hand.
Yeah. it's a good-looking manno you got there, buddy.
All right, that's going to do it. That's a good note.
I think that's where you call it.
That's where we call it. We are DC On Screen. You can find every episode at dconscreen.com. By the way, we are officially listed on the DC Comics website.
Ooh.
If you go to DC Fans and go to their podcast section, we are listed there officially with a handful of other podcasts. There are a lot of other podcasts they haven't put up there, but we're one of them that they have. So I'm very grateful for that and honored to be listed among those.
Someone stopped at 7 when they were doing that section of the website, and we somehow made it.
Someone chose 7 and went, that's probably good.
That'll
do. How can this be? They haven't updated it in 2 years. But anyway, you can find us on Twitter. We are having, seriously, if someone out there left us a comment or feedback or something, and even the people who did, there was a lot more feedback that I could have put in this show, but you know what? We just can't. We are now officially we are above the threshold for comments we can put into the show. We can't include everything anymore, is what I'm saying. Yeah. I wish I could, but like I said, we have full conversations with people on Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, we will get back to you.
We will have full-on conversations with you throughout the day. We just can't include all of that in the show because that's all the show would be. So some would argue that might be an improvement. Yeah, I'm in the unenviable. Is that a word? Unenviable? Yes,
unenviable is an actual word. Yeah.
Yeah, not the way I said it before. That was weird.
Without all the W's, it was a word.
I'm in the unenviable position of having to try to, take apart these some of these comments and say like this is the heart of it. This is the best. These are the best comments, and then not include our entire conversation and trying to pick the best of the best and the ones that I without actually offending anyone, because a lot of people have a lot of great comments and we just can't put them all up.
Yep.
And a lot of you guys we've become friends with. And we will actually have conversations. And I'm sorry, it can't be the it can't be the Dave and Jason and Scott Madison show. But but anyway, you can find us on Twitter. We love talking to you guys. DC On Screen, one word. You can find us on Facebook. Facebook.com/DC On Screen, and we had a great conversation over there. We'll talk about that more in the next episode, but we enjoy talking to you guys a lot. Instagram DC On Screen, and until next time, which is the 400th episode, by the way.
Woo!
Keep some DC on your screen.